Hi friends, welcome to today's lecture. In this brief video, we will be talking about the main arguments developed by Karl Polanyi. He was a very important, very prominent scholar of political economy in 20th century. And to tell the truth, he actually wrote his book, like The Great Transformation, one of the most important book of 20th century, in either Amherst or Northampton. I'm not quite sure, but in either of those places. So some of you are already familiar with the setting where this book is written. Okay, let's start. Uh, in this book, in Great Transformation, Karl Polanyi actually is trying to provide an alternative look at the process and outcomes of industrial revolution, and he is trying to challenge like liberal or mainstream ideas or accounts on the rise of market economy, on the origins of market economy. Like we discussed Adam Smith, and he was seeing market economy or markets as self-regulating entities originated in the natural propensities of humanity. However, for Karl Polanyi, markets are man-made institutions and they are not supposed to be self-regulating. So it is only this understanding is only the outcome of certain historical trajectories that we will be discussing. So, like industrial revolution is framed as one of the most important turning points in the human history, in the sense that after industrial revolution, humanity is assumed to develop enormous wealth and prosperity. So we are producing like unprecedented quantity of works and products and goods and services, however you want to call them. However, Karl Polanyi is actually underlining the historical reality that industrial revolution, in addition to how it is portrayed, actually is the era of massive human dislocation and catastrophic transformation, which started actually with the enclosure movements in 17th and 18th century Great Britain. Enclosure movement means that before or in the agrarian age or before the industrial age, like these lands or farms or many territories in the villages have been commonly used for arable and grazing purposes by the peasants. So they were relying on growing their food to survive. However, landlords, actually after the emergence of bourgeoisie as a rising, as a prosperous, as a growingly significant economic classes, landlords, they tried to compete with this newly rising bourgeois group, and they initiated the period or path to privatize these commonly used lands. So these lands were enclosed so that peasants were denied access to the resources of their own livelihood. So deprived of their resources, peasants have to or had to migrate to the urban centers to earn their subsistence. And they started to work in the factories which were flourishing in the first phase of industrial revolution in the urban centers. Okay, so this period started with industrial revolution and most importantly enclosure movement. So in the after the industrial revolution, after our economy was industrialized, it is no longer agrarian economy. So the human production or manufacturing activities started to be reliant upon elaborate machinery, which were very expensive at that time. So for a merchant or for a businessman, for their business to be lucrative or promising, in the environment of like these very expensive machineries, their establishments in the workplaces. So in order for this process to be lucrative for them, they needed to sort of ensure or guarantee uninterrupted production. So in order to, let's say, achieve profits in the workplace. So after setting up these machineries, these expensive machineries. So like all the production factors, such as labor, such as energy, such as raw material, such as land, they all, like all these production factors, they all need to be guaranteed as market goods in order for the merchants to buy and sell them and to ensure uninterrupted flow of production line. And this meant that like all the human activities or that like the elements have been transformed in a way to be subjected to market forces, or in other words, like supply and demand principles. Okay. So to achieve that, like you should have, or like people should have demolished the agrarian economy, or demolished the economic independence of peasants groups. So, in order to turn them into, let's say, ready-made supply of labor, to convert these people or to transform their human activities in a way to force them to sell their labor to survive. Hence, this self-regulating market economy actually like emerged as a like man-made institution to meet the expectations and requirements of industrial revolution. So, in a self-regulating market economy where all the production lines, again, money, labor, land, raw materials, they should be sold and bought, which meant that like the human substance or the substance of society, like labor means human activity, human body, human efforts, human integrity, like land means nature by definition. So all these human or social substance should be subordinate to the priorities and dynamics in the market, which meant that like everything will be determined based on supply demand principles calculations. So for Karl Polanyi, actually like these like uninhibited or untamed like market forces or marketization of all the entire the entire spheres of human activity and integrity actually uh, was very destructive for the societies. He is defining like commodities as goods and services which are or were produced to be sold in the market. However, in the industrial age, like human labor, again, which they use euphemistic term of human effort or body or activity or integrity, and land, again, a euphemistic term of nature, and money, like the invention of humanity to like use an intermediary token to conduct their exchange or purchase. So none of them were like goods which were produced to be sold in the market. However, industrial revolution required their subjection to market forces. So, like Karl Polanyi defines these so-called commodities as fictitious commodities, and their subjection to like uh, market principles and forces is very destructive. Like imagine like after 2000 and financial crisis, like the level of unemployment increased, which meant that human labor was turned into disposable goods. Or let's say, although it was a financial crisis, which had nothing to do with, let's say, in other economies, in other parts of the world. However, since money is turned into a commodity which is bought and sold in the market in order to earn interest or exchange rates, like many economies have been heavily hit by this financialization or by this marketization of money. Or today it is a common phenomenon in every part of the world almost that climate change or pollution of our rivers or defilement of forests or deforestation, like human species extinction, like all the like geographical catastrophes that we are facing today as a result of like our excessive human production and our, let's say, usage or instrumentalization of nature as a commodity, again, which can be rented or bought and sold, and which is seen or which is reduced to being only one single production factor, which can be easily disposable in the production line or in the process of production. So, like the ideology or the thinking of the commoditization of these labor, money, and land actually allowed or enabled the self-regulating organization of market principle or market economy. But again, these are not natural, like processes or conceptions or they are man-made, which emerge after the Industrial Revolution. So in these quotations, that Karl Polanyi is summarizing what he meant with the destructive outcome of commodification, of fictitious commodification of land, labor, and nature, which are very intuitive to understand. So, like after, let's say, after the, or in reaction to the destruction of human activities, human life, social substance, our nature, like the financial system, or human psyche, or human labor, or health, as a result of their commodification, actually there emerge some like undercurrent moments or tendencies to, let's say, restrict this destruction of these human domains. And Karl Polanyi defines them as double movements. So double movement meant that like some policies, it can be governmental policies most of the time, they were introduced to limit, to restrict the marketization of the realms of fictitious commodities so as to prevent the destruction of human life and environment and financial and psychological and social and economic stability. So there's a video here. So Spinhimland Act, which was introduced in late 18th century Britain, like as an example of this double movement, or as an example of an effort to limit the destructive effect of this commodification or marketization, which you will be able to watch by yourself. So this is Karl Polanyi. Like Karl Polanyi is, again, to summarize, is providing one of the most sophisticated and, to me, like most reasonable account of the rise of market economy. He sees it as a human invention, as a man-made entity or institution or the phenomenon, which have like changed or greatly transformed how people live, how people organize their society and their markets or sorry their economies, and which had, let's say, many destructive outcomes on especially these three realms: the realms of fictitious commodities, labor, land, and money. As a result, or in reaction to that, in response to that, like the what is called double movement, or the policies to restrict these corrosive impacts of this marketization emerge in some parts of the world. So this is the end of, let's say, our lecture for this week, where we discuss the rise of market economy with regards to first Adam Smith and now Karl Polanyi. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks so much. Have a great